What's up guys? In this video, I'm going to show you how to make an Atlas stone from scratch. You'll need some concrete, plaster of Paris, and a kid's hopper ball for materials. I made two Atlas stones for this project, one with an 18-inch hopper ball and one with a 20-inch hopper ball. I went off the Slater Strength website for estimates on the final Atlas stone weight based on the diameter of the ball, and an 18-inch diameter should be around 240 pounds, and the 20-inch around 330 pounds. There will be deviation though based on the exact concrete mix, and I ended up with a 288-pound stone and a 400-pound stone. I opted for the high-strength concrete since I didn't use any reinforcement material, and I didn't want the stone to split open if I slammed it down hard. To start this project, I mixed the plaster of Paris according to the instructions on the package, and I started applying it to the ball. This was my first time working with plaster of Paris, and it took a bit of trial and error to get it right. Initially, I started applying it as soon as I mixed the powder with water, and it had a very low viscosity, which ran right off the ball when I applied it. I worked in relatively small batches, and I learned that it gets more viscous the more you wait, until it eventually hardens, and there's a Goldilocks zone for application to get it to adhere to the ball. Once I found that consistency, it was a lot smoother. I also want to mention that you can modify the diameter of the ball by either over or under inflating it, and you could easily get plus or minus 2 inches from the specified diameter, and you should be able to make any sized Atlas stone since there's a variety of different sized hopper balls. I got mine from Amazon. At this stage, I've completely covered the ball in plaster of Paris, and I have an old 5-gallon pot to create a hole in the top, which I'll use to fill the mold with concrete. I made sure to really reinforce the base since it will have to bear the most weight. I also used drywall tape as a reinforcement material on the first mold I made, since I didn't know how strong the plaster is and I didn't want to find out the hard way. After cracking open the mold though, I realized the plaster was more than enough, and I made the larger 400-pound stone without any drywall tape. No issues. After letting the plaster harden and reach full strength, I popped the ball and inspected the inside of the mold. Thankfully, there was no holes, but there were some voids that I needed to fill, and I applied some more plaster of Paris to the inside of the mold. After this, I mixed up some concrete to an oatmeal consistency and started filling the mold. I found I needed to make a more watery concrete since this first stone that I made had some pretty bad honeycombing. I made a wetter concrete for the second stone, and it did help with the honeycombing a bit. Using a better source of vibration to get the concrete to settle into the mold would also help, but I only had a piece of rebar to stir it with. Later on, I'll show you how I fix the honeycombing. I made sure to overfill the top a bit, and then round it over as best as I could, so that I could chisel out a completely round top and avoid any flat areas. For the second larger stone, which is 20 inches in diameter, I changed the way I made the mold, and I found that it's easier to start applying the plaster to the bottom and then working down to the center of the ball. You'll also see that I'm working with a way better consistency of plaster, as I've waited for it to set a bit before applying. For the second ball, I used no drywall tape, and the mold is thinner, and it still didn't break. I also used wetter concrete here, and I recommend it. Here you can see the 20-inch 400-pound stone, and I want to point out how thin the mold is on the side. You really don't need that much plaster of Paris. I used a hammer and chisel to round off the top of the stone. After this, I decided to take the 18-inch 288-pound stone for a spin. I used a pressure washer to spray out the last remaining bits of plaster of Paris. As you can see here, there is a lot of honeycombing, and I used anchoring cement to fill in all the voids. After filling in all the voids with anchoring cement, I used my hands to smooth over the stone. Looking back though, this wasn't the best thing to do, because now the stone is so smooth, I'm not able to pick it up. I think I'll have to go over it with some sandpaper to give it some more friction. I first weighed my 18-inch stone, and it weighed in at a whopping 288 pounds. As of right now, I still can't pick it up, but I think the sandpaper trick will work. Next is my 20-inch stone, and this one weighs 400 pounds, so we're getting into World's Strongest Man territory here. I don't know if I'll ever be able to pick up the big one, but I'm going to keep working at my 288 pound stone. Hopefully this video helps you build your first Atlas stone. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. See you next time.